Hi, my tubies, my TikTokers, and my Twitter. Sheila here with you again this evening. Have you ever been around someone or had a partner who used to do things purposely just to provoke you so that way they can make it seem like you're the crazy one? Why provoking abusers? This is what I'm naming this. Why provoking abusers in relationships, they are very hard to spot. But you know, with experience, there's two things, or better yet, three things you need to look out for, and that is how they react to being told no, how they react when they can't have their way, and how they respond to your boundaries. That's the easiest way to put them to the test, so that you can spot them, because they are hard to spot. Let me share an experience here with you now.
Relationships are often hard to spot because abusers are very manipulative. They have a tactic that they like to use where they make their victim seem like the abuser and they make themselves seem like the victim. So in my marriage, what my ex-husband used to do is he would engage in some medium to small scale behavior, something that he knew would make me mad, he was well aware of, would provoke me. So for example, I was a stay-at-home mom. He knew that I hated it when he left his dish out with food on it because the food would get hard or moldy or whatever, and it would make it harder for me to do dishes. This happened countless times, and so it started to get harder and harder for me to control my temper, keep my cool about it. And so eventually I would just become explosive in my anger, like I've told you a million times. And when I exploded, he would immediately become very calm. And while I was raging out, he was calmly looking at me like, look, see, you're the crazy one. Right? And then what he would do is he would start to make inflammatory statements in order to elicit a further reaction out of me while I'm already in a reactive state. So saying things like, I don't know what you're so mad about, or I'm a grown man, I can do whatever I want, or I don't care what you're upset about, you're just being ridiculous, things like that. So then that would, of course, make me even more mad. And so eventually I would be so overwhelmed by my emotions that I couldn't control anymore, and I would get right in his face and be screaming at him, or sometimes I would pick something up and throw it because I was mad. And he would use that as a reason to then physically attack me. So he would choke me, grab me by my hair, push my face into the ground, throw me up against the wall, and then later on tell me that I deserved that because I started it. So then I went most of our relationship believing that I was the one that was starting all of this abuse in our relationship, that I was some special kind of victim, that I wasn't really a victim of domestic violence because I was the one starting it, right? And he used this tactic against me in family court too, where he emailed me in order specifically to elicit a reaction out of me. And when I was raging out in the email, he remained calm, and then he submitted that as evidence to our family court judge that I was unhinged and was unfit to be a mother. So it's a red flag to look out for in relationships, to make sure that if your partner becomes eerily calm when you confront them about something that they keep doing and you're noticeably and understandably upset about it, and then they start to point the finger back at you and act like you're the one overreacting, that is a red flag of further abuse to come. And anything you say or do can and will be used against you, especially in a court of law. God forbid you guys have kids together and later on have a custody battle.
I was speaking with one of my girlfriends also, and she said that she had a partner who would constantly provoke her and made her look like she was the crazy one, because he would constantly keep asking her if she wanted to be in an open relationship. And he asked her this over and over again because he knew that would push her buttons, or press her buttons and make her angry. But I was telling her, there's one thing I've learned early in life, that you have to stop reacting and start walking away, because you already know his game. You know the game that he's playing. And we can't control what people do, but we can control how we respond to what they do. I could think about certain things that my ex-husband used to do when my children weren't around. My children or my family wasn't around. And then when they came around, They hadn't seen what he had did previously, so it made me look like, oh, you're just being disrespectful. You don't know how to talk to anyone. They had no idea the things that he had did to me or said to me previously that was so provoking. You know? So whenever I reacted when the kids were around, because I had had enough, it was up to here. I was done. I was done. I was the one who looked crazy. But I didn't give a doggone honey. I didn't care because, one, I'm not a people pleaser. I don't care. I knew the truth, and that's all I cared about. And I also know that you have to handle certain men based on what they're familiar with. If you're with a man who's familiar with someone talking to them or handling them in a certain way, and you come off as this nice, soft, sweet, cushiony, whatever, it's going to go in one ear and out the other, and he don't hear anything you say. People are comfortable with what they're familiar with. So that's the way I had to handle him. I had to handle him accordingly. Of course, my daughter didn't understand it, but that was okay because I told her, keep living, girl. You'll learn. You know? I also remember him, my ex, he was always complaining about his exes and talking about how abusive they were, how she would go around slamming kitchen cabinets and slamming doors. And in my mind, I kept saying, look, I know she's not doing these things for no reason. Okay? What did you do to cause her to bring that, to cause her to come to that point, to get to that point? And now, and me having experienced him, I understood exactly why she was so angry. It had nothing to do with her. It wasn't her. It was all him. I'm sure a lot of you out there can definitely relate. Sheila True Love, loving you always. Bye-bye, babies.